The Marlo Lewis on the line with us from the Competitive Enterprise Institute. CEI.org is the website. He's a senior fellow there. And Marlo, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Tom.
Always great to have you on. We have a very real probability the U.S. Energy Secretary Stephen Chu is going to follow through with what George W. Bush said he would do before the 2000 election, which is regulate carbon dioxide as a greenhouse gas. We had the embarrassing spectacle of John Boehner, however you say it, over the weekend on TV saying that carbon dioxide causes cancer. I'm assuming that you're going to, at the very least, repudiate Mr. Boehner's comments.
Well, I didn't watch Mr. Boehner's comments. Was Boehner affirming that as his own opinion, or was he?
Yeah, he said, oh, these environmentalists are saying that carbon dioxide causes cancer and bloody blah, and or words to that effect. Had I known you wanted to know, I would have found the clip for you, but it's not too hard to find. It was on Meet the Press.
I'll bet, though, that if you go on the web and you type in global warming and cancer, you'll probably come up with somebody somewhere asserting that there's a causal link.
But the senior Republican in the House of Representatives?
I'm saying that, in fact, why don't I do this while we're on the air?
Well, let's just set it aside and let's give him the benefit of the doubt and assume he misspoke. Let's get to the real issue here, Marlo. I mean, you're welcome to Google while we're talking, but my guess is that you'll be better served by.
You're saying that Boehner is a bonehead. That Boehner is a bonehead because
yes.
Carbon dioxide causes cancer, when, as I understand, what he was saying is that some people out there claim it does.
No,
now you're saying nobody does.
He actually,
So why don't you do an internet check?
That's fine. Go ahead and do it. My take on what he said was that it does. But setting that aside, that wasn't the whole point of our conversation, mine or yours. You're concerned that Stephen Chu is going to start regulating carbon dioxide as a greenhouse gas. This, according to the Competitive Enterprise Institute, according to you guys, is going to be a very bad thing, capital V, capital B, capital T, for the economy. It seems to me like it might create a wonderful opportunity for new ways of producing energy. And also, I mean, we've got studies now. I mean, this is scary. The European Union is talking about, there's islands that are going to vanish as a consequence of global warming. Man-made.
Yeah, well, Al Gore said the same thing in a British court that reviewed his book, cited that as one of the factually incorrect statements in An Inconvenient Truth.
You're talking about one cranky judge who took one small portion of his book, and that court, by the way, in whole, found his book to be fine.
Well, no, actually, the court said that the book or the film had to be presented with a warning label saying that this was not a scientific documentary, but a political film.
Well,
but anyway, here's
aside.
For you, Tom. I just did this web search, and there are 5.2 million sites on the web linking global warming and cancer. So I don't think that Boehner was just poking at a straw man. There are people who would like to blame global warming for everything, apparently including cancer.
Okay. So, right. Fine. I'm assuming that you're smart enough to know that it has not been classified as a carcinogen, that it is classified as a greenhouse gas.
Of course.
Okay. So we can just kind of set that out of the way. I shouldn't have started with that. I apologize. Here's the issue. The research indicates this from Warren Washington, one of the lead scientists for the National Center for Atmospheric Research, NACAR, NCAR, and the Geophysical Research Letter. The research indicates that we can no longer avoid significant warming during this century. Here's the quote. According to the NCAR study, average global temperatures have warmed by close to 1 degree Celsius, 1.8 Fahrenheit, since the pre-industrial era, primarily due to human-produced emissions of greenhouse gases. And we are now at 284 parts per million of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. from 284 to over 380. You've got James Hansen saying, anytime we go above 350, we're in big trouble. They're looking at the possibility that we could get as high as 450. Why don't you guys get on the bandwagon and do something about this?
Okay. Well, Tom, what I find interesting is that for the last 8 years to maybe 12 years, depending on which data set you consult, there has been no global warming.
There has been significant global warming year by year. If you take 1998, that 1 year when we had a significant spike, yes, it's been cooler since that 1 year. And that's a nice little trick that people on your side use, but you and I both know that's disingenuous.
No, it's not a trick, because people on your side used to cite 1998 as proof that global warming was pushing temperatures through the roof, and it would only get warmer and warmer. I say, okay, let's look at the year 2001, which is well after the spike from the 1998 El Nino.
Why don't we just look at the melting Arctic, Marlo?
Well, but look, the fact that ice is melting is not proof that global temperatures are going up. You have to you have to use a thermometer to figure out. So look, the statement you asked was,
Are you seriously saying that because we're seeing, here in Oregon, we're seeing a 30% decrease in the glaciation of Mount Hood. All across Africa, glaciers are vanishing. One of the biggest speculations about the reason why China is getting so aggressive about Tibet is it's where the headwaters of the Yellow River, among others, about 7 major rivers in that area, start, and those glaciers are vanishing. In South America and Ecuador, they're freaking out because the glaciers that feed some of the major rivers are going. Glacier National Park in the United States in 10 years is no longer going to have the glacier it's had for 10,000 years. And you're saying that we look at all this stuff and we say, oh, there's no global warming?
No, of course I'm not saying there's any global warming. I'm saying there's been no global warming in the last 8 years. And you just quoted someone who said that global warming was inevitable and was unstoppable.
There's been no global warming in the last 8 years compared to what? Compared to 1998?
Global warming.
How about compared to the last 200 years?
Well, if you want to take that time frame, of course. We've been warming ever since the world came out of the Little Ice Age around 1850. And glaciers started disappearing around 1850. And the glaciers will continue to
We've been warming ever since we started throwing massive amounts of coal and oil waste into the atmosphere.
Here, Tom, get used to it, because the smaller they get, the faster they disappear, because glaciers also create microclimates. And once the glacier starts to shrink, there is more and more of the dark earth exposed to sunlight, and less of it shielded from the sun by the glacier. And so once glaciers start to disappear, they're
I know, it's a positive feedback loop that can be incredibly destructive to the planet. Marlo, at what point are guys like the Competitive Enterprise Institute, why don't you guys say no to the oil industry and instead start embracing the solar industry? Isn't there money over there too?
Tom, every credible technology expert will tell you that solar power has to get at least 5 times cheaper and a whole lot better before it can grow beyond the 0.1%.
So let's get it there. We're talking about the fate of our children and grandchildren, Marlo.
Will solar to become a more competitive technology than it is? You can put a lot of research money behind it, and that might improve it. But even then, you've got to figure out some way to store the electricity that you generate during the daytime so that it can be.
Why don't we do it like the Danes do? They're building 5 million electric cars. They're going to store the electricity that they're generating by wind at night in the cars and then sell it back into the grid during the day.
So we'll be able to save the electricity in cars that very few people in this country, except the richest early adopters, can buy now. Is that your plan? You'd need millions.
Well, that was true the first year of Henry Ford's Model A too. It was the richest early adopters, but it ain't the case anymore.
But the thing was that Henry Ford's plan made economic sense for the average consumer. That was his genius. He invented mass production.
So let's do that with electric cars.
Anyone who wants to make billions of dollars and thinks it's a good idea is free to go out and try. You know, now, GM is going under, even though it bet billions of dollars on the Chevy Volt, which is the exact same type of car, the plug-in hybrid that you're talking about.
All right. Well, we'll see how it shakes out. Marlo Lewis, CEI.org, the website. Thanks, Marlo.
Welcome, Todd.
16 minutes past the hour.